Sigmas don't flinch when insulted. He doesn't react when pushed. And when the world raises its voice, he responds with silence. But this silence is not surrender. It's power. It's the strength of a man who's evolved beyond petty confrontations, emotional reactivity, and the need to explain himself to people who were never listening. This isn't apathy. It's not weakness. It's the final form of psychological mastery. When a Sigma becomes untouchable, he enters a state of quiet dominance. While the world runs on noise, validation, and constant social positioning, the Sigma operates in stillness. Studies in behavioral psychology reveal that people who remain calm under stress are perceived as more competent and authoritative. That's exactly what makes the Sigma so unsettling. He breaks social scripts simply by not playing the game. Most men are triggered by disrespect, rejection, or pressure. But the Sigma has trained his mind through solitude, reflection, and detachment. He understands the psychology of control, how those who try to provoke are often revealing their own insecurities. His lack of response becomes a mirror that reflects the chaos of others. He doesn't fight for dominance. His presence alone shifts the dynamic. This isn't about becoming Sigma. This is about the final stage, the untouchable phase. It's when he no longer seeks to fit in, explain himself, or prove his worth. Instead, he influences quietly, strategically, and permanently. He becomes an enigma, a disruptor, a calm force in a world of chaos. And people don't know how to handle a man who can't be manipulated. So if you've ever walked away instead of lashing out or been misunderstood, not because you were wrong, but because you were ahead of your time, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. This is the mindset of the man who cannot be shaken. Welcome to the final form of masculine self-mastery. Let's begin. Number 1, he masters the art of saying less. Words are currency, and the Sigma male spends them like gold, rarely, wisely, never carelessly. In a world obsessed with noise, chatter, and constant validation, the Sigma stands apart like a silent mountain. He doesn't waste words trying to be heard. He waits until the silence is so loud that his voice naturally becomes the focus. Where most people fear awkward pauses in conversation, he sees opportunity. Silence to him is not emptiness, it's presence, it's pressure, it's power. Studies in communication have shown that nonverbal cues, including silence, can be more influential than spoken words. The Sigma understands this instinctively. He lets silence do the heavy lifting while others scramble to fill the void. While some speak to impress, weaving elaborate stories to seek approval, the Sigma speaks to impact. His words aren't just sounds, they're statements. And because he doesn't constantly broadcast his thoughts when he speaks, it lands with precision and weight. Psychologically, people are wired to pay more attention to what's scarce and unpredictable. This is why his mystery becomes magnetic. Oversharing dilutes power. Withholding builds it. The Sigma sharpens his language the way a warrior sharpens his blade. His sentences are short, intentional, and clear, not because he's uninterested, but because he respects the strength of well-placed words. Just as an author trims unnecessary words to strengthen prose, the Sigma refines his speech to eliminate waste. Every word is like a sniper's bullet, measured, calculated, and powerful. This minimalist communication style not only commands respect, it also leaves others slightly on edge. They wonder what he's thinking, they replay his sentences, they anticipate his next move, and that anticipation, that curiosity, gives him a psychological edge in nearly every social interaction. In business, relationships, and leadership, the ability to control a room without saying much is a rare form of influence. The Sigma has mastered that art. His silence is not absence, it's awareness. And his speech is not noise, it's strategy. He knows that in the economy of influence, cheap talk is inflation. So he invests his words like a master trader, only when the return is guaranteed. That's why people listen when he speaks, because every word is chosen like a strike of a blade. Number 2, he observes first, then moves. While others rush in, the Sigma male watches. He doesn't operate in panic or eagerness. Instead, he approaches life like a strategist on a chessboard. He scans the room, not just with his eyes, but with a sharpened intuition trained to read body language, tone, and subtle shifts in energy. Where most people speak to be heard, the Sigma listens to understand. He studies people not to manipulate, but to position himself wisely. His silence isn't empty, it's tactical. In psychology, this is called a trait often linked with high emotional intelligence and strategic thinkers. Unlike the alpha, who thrives on dominance, or the beta, who conforms, the sigma thrives in calculated detachment. He lets people talk, rant, boast, and bluff, because he knows that given enough time, everyone shows their true hand. He doesn't chase fleeting moments, he times them with surgical precision. In nature, predators like the snow leopard don't waste energy sprinting after every movement. They wait for the perfect opening. The sigma is no different. He's not interested in being first to jump at every opportunity. He's obsessed with being right. That's the sigma edge. He trusts his process more than the noise of the crowd. When others are busy acting for attention, posting every move online, seeking validation, the sigma is moving silently, stacking quiet wins, and preparing for long-term positioning. You might spot him in the corner of the room, seemingly disengaged, but mentally he's already 5 moves ahead. His mind works like a radar, tracking motives, predicting reactions, and assessing potential threats or allies. It's a slow burn strategy, and it works. In military terms, this is the principle of observe, orient, decide, act, OODA loop, and sigma males live it unconsciously. They don't seek the spotlight because they don't need it. What they want is power, not applause. And power, in the sigma's world, is born from patience, perception, and precision. While others are burning themselves out trying to impress, the sigma is quietly building leverage, social, psychological, and financial. Because at the end of the day, he knows something most don't. Timing trumps talent, and silence screams louder than noise. Number 3, he detaches without bitterness. When he leaves, it's clean. No lingering texts, no unfinished conversations, no messy emotional loops, just silence. Complete final. That's the signature move of the sigma male. It's not heartlessness, it's discipline. It's a calculated understanding of self-worth and emotional boundaries. While the world is caught up in chasing closure, rehashing arguments, or seeking validation from those who don't value them, the sigma walks away with something much stronger than vengeance, clarity. He knows something most don't. Detachment isn't weakness, it's power. Psychologically, detachment is the ability to separate one's sense of identity and peace from external chaos. In fact, cognitive behavioral studies suggest that emotional detachment can improve mental health by reducing stress and anxiety, especially in toxic environments. The sigma male has mastered this. He doesn't ghost to be cruel. He vanishes to protect his energy. He's not emotionally unavailable. He's emotionally selective. He knows that not everyone deserves access to his presence, and he refuses to let drama take root in his life. When a connection turns into confusion, he doesn't demand explanations. He doesn't stalk social media for signs or replay memories in his head. Instead, he lets it all go. People, situations, even feelings that once ran deep. He lets them dissolve like smoke in the wind. Why? Because he knows the cost of clinging to what no longer serves him. The sigma doesn't beg for closure because he's the closure. His internal compass is strong enough to navigate storms without needing someone else to hand him a map. That's the secret. It's not that he doesn't care, it's that he cares enough about himself not to stay in dysfunction. This self-respect, this emotional self-sufficiency is rare and intimidating to many. In a world where people are addicted to emotional chaos, the sigma chooses peace. And when he walks away, it isn't a cry for attention, it's a final decision. A quiet assertion that his value does not decrease when someone fails to see it. So if a sigma male leaves, understand it wasn't impulsive, it was intentional. He saw the storm ahead and chose stillness over struggle. No drama, no guilt, just clean silence. The sound of a man who refuses to drown in someone else's storm. Number 4, he trains in solitude. While the world finds comfort in crowds, the sigma male finds discipline in distance. A quiet rebellion against the noise of conformity. Unlike most who fear solitude, the sigma does not withdraw to escape the world. He does so to sharpen himself against it. His withdrawal isn't rooted in antisocial behavior, but in a relentless commitment to personal growth. Solitude for him isn't loneliness, it's strategy. Neuroscience even supports this. Studies have shown that solitude can enhance creativity, improve focus, and strengthen emotional regulation. In silence, the sigma sharpens his thoughts like a blade, cutting away distractions, doubts, and dependence. He uses isolation not as an escape, but as an incubator for transformation. While others seek validation in likes, status, and applause, he seeks clarity in quiet places where the only voice that matters is his own. In solitude, he doesn't just reflect, he plans. He envisions futures no one else can see and works tirelessly behind the scenes to bring them into reality. This discipline in distance is what gives him his edge. When no one is watching, he trains. When others are distracted by noise and trends, he builds in silence. It's a level of self-leadership few can understand because it's not performative, it's purpose-driven. And that's precisely why when he re-emerges, people are shocked. He moves differently, speaks with certainty, and operates at a frequency they weren't ready for. There's a psychological term for this transformation, and it's known to unlock higher cognitive function and self-awareness. The Sigma male doesn't distance himself because he's broken. He distances himself because he's building. And what he's building isn't just success, it's mastery. Mastery over his mind, his path, and his purpose. In a world addicted to constant interaction, the Sigma chooses meaningful evolution. He understands something powerful. Progress often requires stepping away from the crowd to hear the whisper of who you're meant to become. Number 5, he does not explain himself. The Sigma male doesn't need you to understand him, and that's not arrogance, it's self-mastery. He operates on a different frequency, one that isn't tuned to social approval or external validation. While most people spend their lives curating an image, trying to be understood, liked, or accepted, the Sigma walks the opposite path. He's not here to be interpreted, explained, or neatly categorized. His mission is internal, understanding himself, refining his own character, and building his life on principles that don't require applause. You won't find him in debates trying to prove his point, nor will you hear him begging for someone to believe in his vision. He's not driven by the need to be seen. He's driven by the need to be real. Psychologically, this is rooted in high intrapersonal intelligence, a term coined by developmental psychologist Howard Gardner, describing individuals who possess a deep awareness of their inner emotional life and motivations. Sigmas embrace this self-awareness with calm precision. They don't shout their truth, they embody it. And that's the catch. Real truth doesn't scream for attention. It doesn't need to convince. It simply exists quietly, like a mountain in the distance. The Sigma male mirrors that stillness. His power lies in presence, not persuasion. Let people talk. Let them speculate, gossip, label, or misunderstand him. It doesn't matter. While they're trying to decode his silence or pick apart his decisions, he's already a few moves ahead, evolving, pivoting, and thriving without explanation. Sociologists might call him an intentional outsider, someone who chooses solitude not from rejection but from clarity. That's why Sigma males often seem detached. They're not emotionally absent, they're emotionally disciplined. They refuse to waste energy where none is needed. If he walks away from an argument, it's not because he's weak, it's because he knows the battlefield isn't worth the war. In a world obsessed with noise, the Sigma male is fluent in silence. And in that silence, he finds something most never do: peace, purpose, and power. So no, he doesn't need you to get him. He's not waiting for that. He's already gone, chasing something bigger than attention: truth, growth, and legacy. Number 6, he values precision over perfection. The Sigma male doesn't waste time chasing perfection because he knows it doesn't exist. In a world obsessed with flawless outcomes and polished appearances, the Sigma sees through the illusion. Perfection to him is a myth, a socially engineered trap designed to keep capable men stuck in endless preparation, doubt, and delay. He understands that perfection is a moving target, and those who chase it often end up standing still. Instead, the Sigma chooses effectiveness. He values results over aesthetics, progress over paralysis. His focus is on what works, not what looks good on paper. This mindset is rooted in a practical, almost scientific approach to life. Psychologists have long recognized the difference between perfectionism and high achievement. While perfectionists often fear failure and procrastinate, high achievers, like the Sigma, set realistic goals and move forward with purpose, even if the path is messy. The Sigma isn't careless, though. Every move he makes is calculated. His choices are measured, not impulsive. He applies a principle similar to the 80-20th rule, also known as the Pareto principle, which states that 80% of outcomes come from 20% of efforts. He identifies the essential 20% that brings the most return and focuses his energy there. That's why he doesn't waste time obsessing over the small details that have little impact. Even when he makes mistakes, he sees them as data points, not failures. To him, errors are not setbacks, but feedback loops. that sharpen his precision. It's a deliberate process of refinement, like a sculptor removing excess stone to reveal the form within. Each mistake gives him a clearer sense of what works and what doesn't. This is what separates the Sigma from others. He doesn't fear imperfection, he harnesses it. Because while perfection paralyzes the masses, precision builds the Sigma's empire, one intentional decision at a time. In a society where many are stuck tweaking, editing, revising, and waiting for the perfect moment, the Sigma is already 10 steps ahead, not because he's reckless, but because he knows that clarity emerges from action, not overthinking. His life is a series of purposeful movements, not endless rehearsals. And that is where his power lies, not in flawless execution, but in flawless direction. By pursuing effectiveness over perfection, the Sigma becomes the kind of man who builds, adapts, and rises, while others remain frozen in the illusion of getting it just right. Number 7, he builds quiet power. Power isn't always loud. It doesn't always roar through dominance or demand attention in a crowded room. Sometimes real power walks in quietly, says nothing, and still changes the entire atmosphere. This is the kind of power the Sigma male embodies, a power rooted not in bravado but in self-restraint. In a world that praises overreaction, the Sigma remains still. While others feel the need to clap back, to prove themselves, or to win every argument, the Sigma male understands that silence can be the sharpest sword. Neuroscience even supports this. Studies show that people who can manage their emotional responses, particularly in stressful situations, have higher emotional intelligence, which is directly linked to better decision-making, leadership, and long-term success. The Sigma has mastered this. He doesn't react because he doesn't need validation. His power is in the pause, in the ability to choose not to respond, to walk away without a word, and to never look back. It's not that he's weak or incapable. It's that he's evolved past the need to engage in meaningless power plays. Unlike the Alpha, who thrives on control, or the Beta, who seeks approval, the Sigma seeks peace. And ironically, that makes him more powerful than both. His life isn't a stage show, but a blueprint for quiet mastery. You won't see him flaunting wins on social media, but his results speak volumes. Through the businesses he builds, the lives he impacts, and the calm certainty that follows him. When you cross paths with a Sigma male, you won't remember what he wore or even what he said. What you'll remember is how his calm presence made you feel. There's no need for showmanship because his energy says everything. That's not arrogance. It's alignment. Alignment with his purpose, his values, and his inner code. True alignment eliminates the need for external validation. It silences the noise of insecurity and replaces it with clarity. And in that clarity, the Sigma male becomes untouchable, not because he's the loudest, but because he's the most grounded. His silence is not emptiness. It's control. His calm is not weakness. It's awareness. And his restraint is not submission. It's power refined. The Sigma male doesn't just walk away from conflict. He rises above it. And that is the kind of power that doesn't need to shout to be felt. It's simply number 8. He doesn't fear being misunderstood. Most people go through life trying to fit in, fearing rejection like it's a death sentence. The need to be liked, understood, and accepted by others is deeply wired into human psychology. But the Sigma male, he operates on an entirely different frequency. While others shrink at the idea of being misjudged or misunderstood, the Sigma thrives in it. Misunderstanding for him is not a curse. It's camouflage. It protects his mission. It keeps him hidden from unnecessary attention, from social obligations that drain his energy, and from the expectations that chain most people to a version of themselves they don't even recognize. He doesn't crave validation because he understands something powerful. Most people are projecting, not perceiving. So when the world slaps a label on him, cold, distant, arrogant, he doesn't flinch, he doesn't explain. Why? Because explanation is an invitation, and he's not looking to be invited into their boxes. Sigmas are deeply introspective by nature, often driven by internal compasses that don't require applause or applause meters. Psychology even points to this mindset as a form of self-determined motivation, where purpose is driven from within, not from external rewards or recognition. The Sigma walks his path silently, often misunderstood, but completely aligned with who he is. And paradoxically, that very detachment makes him unforgettable. People may not understand him, but they can't stop thinking about him. There's a mystery to him that lingers, a calmness that unnerves, and a confidence that speaks without words. He doesn't need the world to walk with him. He just needs room to walk alone. And that's exactly what makes his presence so rare, so powerful, and so impossible to ignore. Becoming untouchable isn't about shutting down emotions, it's about sharpening your clarity. A Sigma male isn't numb, he's intentional. He knows his values, guards his peace, and walks a path few dare to follow. While the world scrambles for attention and overreacts to every slight, the Sigma remains still, mastering self over chaos. This stillness isn't weakness, it's power. In psychological terms, this self-regulation builds resilience, calm, and focus. By conquering himself, the Sigma becomes both invisible to nonsense and unforgettable to the wise.